Oh, what a difference a camera perspective makes! When I loaded up the new game Formula Bit Racing DX and played with the default isometric camera perspective, I had a miserable experience. I lagged far behind the competition in every single race and grew to hate not being able to see the 90-degree turns coming. But then I found the third-person camera perspective and everything changed. I suddenly started winning races and dominating the circuit. I felt like I was in control, which translated in me having a whole lot of fun. It made me wonder why any developer would default to such an unruly camera angle when there are so many better options. That's just one of the questions that I have for 2 Awesome Studio in this review of their new game, Formula Bit Racing DX. There's a chance that this is going to be an incredibly short review, because Formula Bit Racing DX is an incredibly simple game. It's a throwback racer that is inspired by the low-polygon arcade games of the early 1990s, yet has the amount of content that you'd expect from a modern racer. It's a fairly simple, straightforward game with barely any modes and an identity crisis. But I have a hunch that a lot of people are going to overlook these issues when they see the dirt cheap $5 asking price. Well, Formula Bit Racing is clearly taking inspiration from games like Virtual Racing. There's never a point where the game actually feels like one of Sega's classic racers. Before changing the camera perspective, the closest thing the game resembled was RC Pro-Am on the Nintendo Entertainment System. However, when I switched to the more traditional third-person chase perspective, the game managed to feel unique and different. 2 words that I didn't expect to say about a throwback racing game. Part of what makes this feel so odd is the level designs, where every single corner is a sharp 90-degree turn. There are no gentle corners or round U-turns. Just these really severe angles you'll need to negotiate as you compete against 5 other drivers. This simple design decision makes a big difference on how you approach each track, which ultimately makes the game feel quite a bit different from your typical racing game. I'm honestly not sure I've ever played a game with this many 90-degree turns. Now, when it comes to the different modes, Formula Bit Racing DX doesn't have any. It has a single world tour that is split up between 4 levels: Novice, Junior, Senior, and Master. There are 5 tracks in each level, each based on countries as diverse as France, Canada, India, Japan, Poland, Switzerland, and of course the United States. There are 20 courses that you can race in any order, all of which can be raced on either the normal or hard difficulty. And that's it. Once you've raced the 20 courses, the game ends and you go off looking for something else to do. This points out the game's first big problem. There's no multiplayer support. In that sense, this game isn't really like the low-poly arcade racers of the early 90s, because those were built around competitive multiplayer races. Instead, this is more like the arcade racers of the 1980s, when it was common to compete against nothing but computer opponents. Look, I'm not asking for a robust online experience, as this game would be greatly improved with the addition of a split-screen mode so that a few people can crowd around a single system. This game is screaming for that kind of multiplayer mode, especially with so little to do after beating the single-player content. It also doesn't help that the stage designs aren't very distinct. Even with the addition of the different color schemes and slight tweaks to the sidelines, I found that the 20 stages all started to blur together after a while. I suspect a lot of this has to do with those pesky 90-degree turns, which have this bad habit of limiting the types of courses you can think up. It's also a shame that there aren't different weather conditions or times of the day. Speaking of the courses, I found that a few of them had some real performance issues. Maybe it's just the perspective that I was using, but there were a few times where the courses would lag behind the action and then catch up in a glitchy and often distracting way. These weren't random problems either, as the performance problems would happen at the exact same corners every single time. It could be that the game runs flawlessly in the default isometric view, but that's a miserable way to play this game. The fact that the worst way to play Formula Bit Racer is also the default is just baffling to me. Why would anybody choose that over the much more playable third-person chase view, which allows you to not only see the upcoming turns, but also to react to them? One of the very few things this game has going for it is that it doesn't feel like all the other throwback racing games on the market. Yet that element is buried away in the settings screen. It's just one of the dubious decisions made by Too Awesome Studio that brings the score down. But hey, at least it's only $5, am I right? If you're looking for a cheap throwback racing game with limited modes and no multiplayer support, then look no further than Formula Bit Racing DX. It's a fast-paced, easy-to-learn racing game with a low-polygon look and 20 challenging stages spread across an entire globe. Unfortunately, those stages tend to blur together after a while, thanks in large part to the insistence of only using sharp 90-degree turns. The price may be right, but Formula Bit Racer would be a whole lot more fun, with more content and a real competitive multiplayer mode. Yeah, sometimes the old saying is true. You get what you pay for. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. In fact, we have a whole playlist with nearly 700 reviews just like this one, so you should go and check them out. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite 1990s racing game? It doesn't have to be one of those early 90s racers that inspired this game. I'm just looking for anything at all that was released in that decade. I'm excited to see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back shortly with a review of Seduction Amongst Fate, Zell, Loopmancer, Battle Part, S-Proxy, and a whole lot more. Oh, and we'll be back on Friday with another EGM countdown. Yeah, those are coming back. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.